Hey folks, welcome back. I didn't know what I was going to say, and I didn't even know if I was going to make a video tonight. But I just watched a video where you need to stock up, you need to stock up, you need to stock up on these things. And they riddle off a bunch of things, right? Folks, that's all well and good if you've got money. And that's all well and good if you want to live the same life you're living now if something were to happen to this country. No matter what. Fall on hard times. I did a video a while back on what's most important. Food, water, shelter, heat, maybe a sanity, right? Those are the very basics, and you need to get the very basics and know how to obtain the very basics without modern day tools. Just like we did back in the 1800s. I'm not saying you have to carve your own cups and bowls and plates and forks out of wood. I'm not saying any of that. Chances are you have all of that already, right? But you do not need to go out and get a $2,000 solar generator or 2 or 3 generators, gasoline generators or propane generators. I'm going to tell you why there's a lot that can be said that's wrong about that. Because while all these people saying you're not going to be able to live if you don't have X, Y, and Z, let's just take propane generators. What if you can't get propane, folks? What if you can't get gasoline, folks? What if something happens and you don't get any sunlight, folks? Right? So, that's not basic. That's not basic. Basic, folks, is learning to do everything during the daylight, when it's light out, and your downtime is when it's dark out, if you don't have any means of lighting, right? That's what they used to do years ago, folks. They may have had candles, they may have had kerosene, right? But they didn't have all these fancy gadgets, and people talk about, we're going to go back to 1800s, and you need a solar this and a solar that. They did not have solar back then, folks. So they're kind of contradicting themselves. That might sound good if you're not thinking. If you're not thinking about it, it might sound pretty good. So when I say go back to basics and learn how to survive, that means going back to basics and relying on daylight to get your things done inside the house and outside, right? So if you don't have any lighting when it gets dark, you're inside, right? Food. I'm a big proponent of making sure I have food. Now, I might be a big girl, folks, but I really don't eat much. I eat 1 meal a day, right? But I'm pretty healthy, right? I eat all the right things. I get plenty of exercise. And I'm pretty healthy, folks. I've got a lot of endurance. I've got a lot of strength. And I have half a brain where I could think outside the box, right? So, even though I consider myself living the simple life, there's still a lot that to make my life a little more comfortable, I still have modern things. I have a cell phone. It might be 8-10 years old, and I'm not kidding, folks. I might have a cell phone, which I do, which I'm talking into. I have a vehicle. I have a generator, right? I have a jackery. So I do have modern things. But if somehow, for some reason, we are kicked back to 1800, folks, for one, I wouldn't need a vehicle because there would be no place to go, right? I wouldn't need the gas. I wouldn't need the generator to charge my cell phone or my Jackery, right? I wouldn't need that. So to me, a vehicle, a cell phone, a Jackery, and a, what do you call it? I just called it a generator, is a luxury for me. Everything else, I rely on nature, folks. I do. If you follow my channel for any length of time, you know that I get everything done that I possibly can during daylight hours. And that includes housework. You know, at the peak of the day, when it's brightest inside my house, that's when I do my housework, right? Now, I do things outside at the other times of the day. Now, granted, I do have a headlamp, but you're going to burn through batteries if you're going to sit in your living room with headlamp on, right? So you can see. If you're sitting down and you're having a conversation with people, in the daylight, you can look at them. At night, you don't have to. So if you're talking to someone in the dark, guess what? You are listening better, right? You're listening better because you don't have these things to distract you, right? So when they say going back into the 1800s, but you need all these fancy gadgets in order to live, no, that is in order to live comfortably. So it's not so much of a shock. So when you go from living the land of a good life, everything is going smoothly, you flip a switch and the lights come on, you turn a knob and the water flows, and you have hot water and you have cold water. Folks, I have no running water here, right? I have no plumbing inside my house whatsoever. I rely on my wood stove to heat my water up, and in the summer I have less than a $10 cinder block rocket stove, right? Takes one match, dry kindling, right? And if you're afraid you're going to run out of matches so you can cook, matches are so cheap, folks. A box of 100 wooden matches, folks, is so cheap. So cheap. It used to be $1. Well, it used to be 50 cents, but I'm sure even at $3, which they might be right now, even $3, that's 100 matches, folks, right? That will save more time than you would with a bow spindle fire starter thingy, right? Or flint and steel, which flint and steel, is that what I'm talking about? Flint, a lot faster, right? But you should know how to do that anyway. So if everything goes back to the 1800s, and you're wondering, like this one person did, wondered how they were going to work, if they were going to have to buy a horse or a donkey so they can go to work. Chances are, if something like that happens, you're thrown back into the 1800s, you are not going to work. You're not going to go to work, folks. So, especially if you live very rural, like a lot of us do, everything's going to be done at home, right? Your stores probably won't be open because how are they going to get deliveries, right? So if you start out with the basic survival items and the basic skills, start there first and then gradually get more comfortable so you can live more comfortable with your preps, right? So if you have a radio, it depends on what happens. You know, I mean, somebody said, well, if an EMP, even your radio won't work. Well, probably not. But what if it's not an EMP? A solar radio with a flashlight and all that. Put it in the window. If there's sun, you could listen to the radio. You're not going to keep it on for 24 hours probably, but you can get it on to catch something that might be updating for news. If all communication has been lost, your cell phones won't work, your telephones won't work, your radios won't work, folks, unless you put them into a, what is it called, a Faraday cage, if it's an EMP. But what if it's not an EMP, folks? What if there's something happens and the grid is down, and you just gotta, if it comes down to the 1800 style of living, you are going to be less worried about what is happening outside your bubble, right? It'd be nice to know. It would be nice to know. But at that point, you are going to be surviving. And it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of skill just to survive in any scenario like that. If you are stuck in your bubble, then you don't care what's happening halfway across the world because you're too busy trying to survive in your bubble, right? So I get a little aggravated at some of these videos that I watch where it's all talk, folks. They're not thinking it out. They're putting these fancy titles on, clicky titles to get people to click on them. They're making everything so dramatic. They're fear-mongering. They're causing panic. They're causing people to stress. They're causing people to be uneasy and worried, right? I do encourage people to either learn how to gather out in the wild your antibiotics, pain meds, anything like that. I do encourage you to learn those skills, and you can get books so you can be learning this winter. If you have snow on the ground, you could be learning that stuff over the winter. If we get to winter before something happens, right? But you should have these skills, or at least in notebooks where you have done your research, or your books, or research online. Be careful of that, because some people just spread bullshit. I'm just going to say that. I'm just going to say it. They're acting like they're experts, and they really don't know, folks. They really don't know. But you need the basics to keep you alive, to keep you healthy. You need to learn how to make things for food and make simple ingredients work, right? Now, I know pasta has gone up, rice has gone up, dry beans have gone up, but if you've got a fishing pole and you know how to fish, you can get your protein somewhere, right? I don't even know where I was going with that, folks. That video just, for anybody that's just starting out and they watch something like that and they hear somebody say, well, you need a $2,000 solar generator, or you need at least 2 generators, and you need a year's worth of fuel, and you need. Well, one, that's going to be way overwhelming, and people are just going to give up, right? If you say they say that you need a $2,000 solar generator, but they are talking about a nuclear winter. Well, how much sun do you think you're going to get with a solar generator in order to power whatever you think you need inside your house? Come on. It really irritates me, folks. So I hope you folks, a lot of you are smarter than that. You need to think. Anybody that spreads fear and panic and telling you don't bother with a case of candles, you need a $2,000 solar generator. Come on. And they're affiliated, right? And if they're not affiliated, they're just blowing smoke out their ass, folks. So please do not watch these folks. There's a lot of good channels out there, and there are a lot of piss poor channels out there that are deceiving, they're overwhelming, they are fear-mongering, and it aggravates me because they're dramatic, and they are not looking out for you. They're just trying to sound big and know-it-all. I'm just going to say that, folks. So there's my little rant. I get very fed up with stuff like that. If you are just starting out, please start with the very basics, folks. And then get books, like I said, get books, research, have it printed out, hand printed out, whatever you need to do for notes on how to do certain things, so when those matches do run out, you have something that you can learn how to do. Hopefully you're practicing right now, right? At least you have a backup that's not going to cost you $2,000. You know, if somebody told me I needed a $2,000 solar generator, I'd probably ask them to turn around so I'd kick them right in the ass and ask them what the hell they think they are trying to do. If you have skills, folks, if you have skills, you do not need that $2,000 solar generator. I am just saying that. A lot of you know how I live. I live very, very simple, a very basic life. I just listed the things that I have modern here. And I live very well. I'm very happy. I'm very content. So if the shit ever hit the fan for whatever reason, it's not going to be too much different for me. So I am going to adjust very, very well. And I hope some of you adjust very, very well. So if you don't have those skills, you need to get those skills. Stop listening to those channels that are trying to overwhelm you so that you give up before you start. All right? Again, I'm flustered. I'm really flustered with that. And I'm not even going to bother commenting. I'm not even going to bother contacting them. I want to say shame on you. I do. I want to say shame on you, but they're not going to listen. They're already there. They've moved on to the next topic and makes them sound all educated and powerful and know-it-all. When if you are listening and if you are thinking, then you know they're full of crap, right? So if you find those channels, you do what you do. I just don't click on them anymore. I just don't. You know, burn me once, shame on you. Burn me twice, shame on me. Right? Same thing. If I watch a video that's spreading false information, and then I watch another one that's spreading false information, the same channel, that's my fault, right? That's my fault. So I'm not going to do that to myself. I am not. There's enough going on. I don't need any of that garbage. And I'm not saying that my channel is all that spectacular. I know I'm doing something right because I have over 2,000 subscribers in such a short time. I get some nice emails and I get some really nice comments. And YouTube has demonetized me. Yeah, they took $5 yesterday and $5 today, folks. So, there we go. I must be on to something, right? That might be for the good of people. That's alright. That's alright. It's not why I'm doing it, folks. I'm doing it because I like to help people. And I want you all to know that you're going to get what you put into it. If you're going to sit back and say, woe is me, and not try to help yourself, that is on you. If you are trying, like the Dickens, to do research, trying to do everything so you have at least the staples on hand, at least the very basics on hand, then that's probably going to do you a lot of good when the time comes, right? Right? So anyway, there it is. I got a little angry watching that video, and I'm like, you know what? Those people are the ones that should be demonetized. Those are the people that should be reported. Those are the people that should be having a hard time sleeping at night. Not all of us who are good, decent people that are trying to help people, right? Seems kind of backwards. It does. But anyway, this is, holy crap, it's 19 minutes long. Y'all have a good night. And basics, folks, basics. At least start with the basics, all right? Thank you. Bye-bye.